Hey guys, what's going on? This is Andrew here today, and we're going to be continuing the series that I like to call My History with Gaming. In this video, we're going to be discussing my history with Pokemon. Pokemon is a franchise that I have always seemed to enjoy. After all, Pokemon Emerald was my first game that I ever had to myself, along with a few other GBA games that I got that day on my birthday. I don't exactly know what got me so into the series itself, because to this day I've never really been a major RPG guy. The only other games that are similar to the style of Pokemon that I really enjoyed are Earthbound and Undertale. I'm guessing that the reason that I stay for these games is just for the concept of collecting Pokemon and each of them having their own movesets, as well as there being an interesting story for the most part between all of the entries outside of Sword and Shield in my opinion. Whatever it is that got me into the franchise, I'm sure that it's the same thing that has me staying interested instead of just for reasons of nostalgia. Anyways, as I just said, Pokemon Emerald was one of the first games I had ever owned, and I got my copy on my 5th birthday. When it came to Pokemon back during those days, I never really got far in the games, and that is because I was so young that I wasn't really reading that well, and that meant that I couldn't do what the game was telling me to do since I was just skipping all the subtitles. I remember being so young and not understanding how to set my clock to a certain time to start the game, and the funny part is I thought after I beat May that the game was over because I just didn't know how to progress after that. As time went on, I started finding my way around the game and realizing that there was much more to do, and then I would just keep finding myself stuck in a place and assuming that the game was over all over again. This continued up until I was about 8 years old at the end of my 2nd grade year in 2009, but on top of this game, I was also enjoying the beautiful visuals of Pokemon XD Gala Darkness, which is a game that I think holds up incredibly well today. For my birthday that year, I got the game that started my addiction to the Pokemon franchise for some time, Pokemon Pearl. My cousin had been really into Pearl, Diamond, and Platinum, and this meant that they were constantly talking to me about it, enough to make me interested. At this point in time, I still hadn't beaten Emerald, but none of that mattered to me because I had just gotten the new game, and that was all I cared about for that moment. I remember I was in a hotel room visiting a cousin in Pennsylvania for a graduation party when I got the game, and I was absolutely blown away by the design of the world and the new Pokemon. I picked Chimchar since I used to gravitate towards fire Pokemon, and within an hour or two, I evolved it into Monferno since I was level grinding whenever I was stuck in an area. When I got back home to New York, my family had a birthday party for me, and at that party, I got both Diamond and Platinum, so within a few days, I went from not even owning one of the Gen 4 games to owning every single one of them. Since I was working on Pearl, I finished that one up before I started Platinum with the help of my cousin. To this day, I feel that the credits theme from that game is the best credits theme from any Pokemon game in existence, and I still sometimes listen to it on my free time every once in a while. Anyway, I decided to start up Platinum, and within a week, I was done with that as well, also with the help of my cousin. I don't know exactly when I started Diamond, but what I do remember is that I took a decent break from it to try and find more Pokemon in Platinum, and I ended up giving my brother my starter Pokemon, which at that time was evolved into Infernape, and I named it Butt because I thought I was a funny kid, for his copy of Platinum that he was also working on. Over the course of a few months, I became absolutely obsessed with Gen 4, and it became the thing that I talked about every single day in the 3rd grade to the point where I annoyed my best friend that year. Fast forward some time now, and my cousin, who always did his research on his interests, informed me that Pokemon Heart Gold would be coming out in the US in March of 2010, so of course, him and I were waiting for it for some time. During that time, I decided to give Pokemon Emerald another go, and I happened to have left off 6 gym leaders completed, with 2 remaining, with a level 81 Blaziken, keep in mind. From what I remember, the reason that this happened with such a high level Pokemon is the trainers around the daycare center in the game would constantly let me battle them, and eventually I got them to the point where their levels were maxed out, like the trainers' levels were maxed out to where they couldn't go higher, and it was causing me to get easy EXP. By the time I started the game back up again, I somehow by absolute luck found my way to the Team Magma base to allow me to progress further in the game, and eventually I made it all the way to the last gym. After the last gym, I made my way to the Sky Pillar to catch Rayquaza, but since I was an oblivious kid that didn't bother to read fully, I mistook a Relicanth for a Rayquaza and threw a Master Ball at it and saved my game. By the time I realized what I had done, it was too late. I then had to stock up on multiple kinds of Pokeballs to go after Rayquaza, and I leveled up my Blaziken to level 100, and I was grinding 3 days to try and catch that legendary with Ultra Balls and Net Balls before I called it quits and started over the game. At that point, I knew my way around the game perfectly since I had been playing it for years at this point, and I did it with a Swampert instead of a Blaziken, which in my opinion is the best starter to go for when trying to go through this game as fast as you could. Blaziken is my favorite starter, but Swampert in my opinion is the one that just makes it extremely easy to go through the game. Only about 3 days in, I was done with the game after nearly 5 years of trying to beat it. As I said before, Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver were just around the corner, and both my brother and I pre-ordered the games. I wanted Ho-Oh as my legendary, and he wanted Lugia, so I got Heart Gold and he got Soul Silver. Obviously, later on, I got the other one just to say that I had both. I remember being extremely hyped to play the game and find the new Pokemon, but when I booted up the game, I immediately noticed that the Pokemon weren't new. What I didn't know at the time was that Gold and Silver existed, and these were just simply remakes, so I went into the game thinking that they were brand new. I beat the game within a month, but after that, I really wasn't interested in playing through it again. Up until recently, I really wasn't a big fan of Gen 2, and I ended up going back to play Platinum and catch more of those Pokemon, as well as transferring the ones from my GBA games to expand the collection of the Pokemon that I had. Another year goes by, and just like the last year, my cousin tells me about the newest addition to the franchise that would be coming in 2011, Pokemon Black and White. Just like with Heart Gold and Soul Silver, I was extremely excited to see what was going to be happening next. This was also the year that I started watching YouTube since I really wasn't introduced to it before. A friend introduced it to me that year. So I spent a lot of time watching a player who had the Japanese version of the game play all the way through. This was truly the first time that I had ever watched a walkthrough of any game, and I actually paid quite attention at this time. More about that in a minute. My brother's birthday comes along, and my cousin pre-ordered him the apparent better copy of the game to a lot of people, Pokemon White, because of Zekrom. Of course, since I was the diehard Pokemon fan, I wanted to get a pre-order as well, but sadly, I didn't. Launch day of the game comes, and my younger brother decided that he would give his GameStop gift card to me to get Pokemon Black on day one, and what happened after that? I beat the game instantly. Not even kidding, I literally watched the walkthroughs of the game so much that I knew exactly where to go, which caused me to beat the game the day that it launched in the States. After I did that, other kids in my 4th grade class who were stuck came to me for help. This game to me was really good, and I felt like the story elements behind this game were the best thing to have ever come from a Pokemon entry even to this day. My only complaint from this game has to be the triple battles, but other than that, I felt like this was a huge step up in quality from the other entries, and it serves as my controversial favorite Pokemon game on the DS. As for paying my brother back for letting me use his gift card, I bought him a copy of Pokemon Black and my youngest brother a copy of Pokemon White, which was his first Pokemon game with my birthday money. So one thing I also forgot to mention is that a few months before all this, on Christmas, I actually ended up getting the entire Pokemon series. So everything from the Game Boy all the way to what I had at that moment. On top of that, I also had a Super Nintendo that, was someone in my family's, and that Christmas I got also a original Game Boy and a Game Boy Color to play some of those original games, even though the GBA was able to do that. So that's sidetracking a little bit, but let's get to the next part of the topic. After about a year of grinding Pokemon Black and White, 5th grade comes along and all of the kids were now uninterested in Pokemon in my class. Because of this, I felt like I needed to step away from Pokemon as well, and I did. My newfound addiction during this time was Guitar Hero, a game that I never abandoned ever since the day that I picked it up. Alright, fast forward another year to the 6th grade, and I felt like I needed to stop being a kid altogether, and I sold my GBA, DSi, Game Boy Color, Game Boy, and Super Nintendo, and worst of all, every single Pokemon game that I ever owned. I kept my DSi XL just in case I ever wanted to use it ever again, but everything else at that point was gone. I really don't know why I decided to do all that shit at that age, because I don't exactly remember if I was trying to buy anything else at that time. I think I really was just set on trying to grow up, even though I still was obviously a kid at that point. I was only 11. Later that year, my old friend Sonny told me that you can get an emulator to play old DS and GBA games on your iPhone, and that app was something called GBA for iOS, and I used that app to play the entire GBA series, and I also had the Game Boy Color emulator to play the other Pokemon games as well, even though I had played them just like 2 years prior. Right then and there, I was interested in Pokemon again, but this was the period of time where I didn't really care to get the new releases since I heard that X and Y weren't really good, and I was mainly playing Guitar Hero at that time anyway. During that time, I went into my drawer, and to my surprise, my copies of Emerald, Ruby, and Sapphire were all in there, as well as my copy of Pokemon Black right under it. I was really lucky to not have sold those because they go for so much more money nowadays than what I would have sold them for back then. I got like nothing for all my Pokemon games when I sold them. In terms of what was on that Pokemon Black cartridge, it was every single Pokemon that I had from Gen 1 all the way to Gen 4, and then at that point Gen 5, so it really was a special game, and to this day I haven't deleted that save just in case I ever want to transfer my Pokemon into the newer entries. From that point forward, if I were to play Pokemon, it was really just the older entries every once in a while when I wasn't playing Guitar Hero, and most of the times it would be on an emulator rather than actual hardware since I really loved that I was able to play these games on my iPhone. That was until Pokemon Go came along sometime later, which then gave a ton of attention to Pokemon Sun and Moon, which was coming that fall. I had been out of Pokemon for quite some time now, especially the newer entries, and I was hesitant to buy the game, so I waited until Christmas of that year to get my hands on Sun, and oh my god, it became my second favorite Pokemon game of all time next to Emerald. After playing it, I was sure that Pokemon was going to have its major comeback, and the next year I got Ultra Sun, but I didn't play it much since that is when my hiatus officially started. Now, I didn't include this in my script, but I'm just going to say this outright. When it came to Pokemon Sun, I really was into it because I always love when a company tries to do something different with their game. I mean, I am a huge fan of Pokemon XD Gala Darkness, and Pokemon Sun was just about as close as I was able to get to one of those games in terms of innovation and graphics, and I really just thought it was an outstanding game altogether, and I hope that Nintendo does some more experimenting this way rather than always going for the same kind of Pokemon game, even though, I grew up with those games and I loved the formula of it regardless. Somewhere down the line during my hiatus, I decided to pick up Pokemon Sword, and man was I absolutely disappointed. I literally got bored of that game so fast, and it took me an entire year to finally get the motivation to complete it, which never happened with a Pokemon game. I always finished them at least within a week. It felt like they were trying to make it as likable as Pokemon Sun, but they failed absolutely miserably at doing so. I thought the Pokemon were trash, I thought the story was trash, and the characters felt like dollar store versions of the ones from Pokemon Sun. I overall was not happy with the game, and I was just desperately waiting for Diamond and Pearl to finally get their remakes. So finally, we get to the present of things where I talk about where I stand with the franchise. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are exciting announcements, but at the same time, I'm absolutely disgusted by the way that they look. I really think the character design is really bad, although I think the 2D design of the game is pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool that they decided to make the game loyal to the originals, but at the same time, I feel like they could have taken a much better approach rather than making the characters look as bad as they do. Although I guarantee that I wouldn't have been happy with the look either way because I was also unhappy with the look of Sword and Shield, when it comes to Pokemon, I've been waiting for a game to look as good as Pokemon XD Gala Darkness on the GameCube, and 2.5 console generations later, we still don't have that. I really want to see Pokemon take a graphical leap that it deserves, and I hope that I will enjoy a new entry again, just like I did when Sun and Moon launched. Regardless of how I think Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl look, I pre-ordered both, and I am very excited to relive the Sinnoh region, as well as eventually play the new entry, Pokemon Legends Arceus. So, yeah, I am very into the Pokemon series. I always will be into the Pokemon series, and I find myself a lot of times going back and playing those older games. Just recently, I played all the way from the Game Boy all the way up to the DS games, and I'm currently working on Diamond and Pearl since I finished Platinum recently, and I finished Black and Black 2. So basically, at this point, I'm going to be trying to finish every other Pokemon game, even like the double of the game. So say like I already finished Pearl, I'm also going to go and finish Diamond. If I finish Black, I'm going to go and try to finish White. So I only have a few games left in the franchise to complete. One of the last games that I beat was Pokemon X, which honestly I was not a huge fan of, but I thought honestly it was a pretty interesting like sum up of the Pokemon game, and I felt like if that was like the last Pokemon game they ever launched, I wouldn't have been upset about it because it honestly felt like it was like wrapping everything together and just like including references from everything. But basically, guys, that's my take on Pokemon. Thank you all for watching. I am very excited for the next Pokemon games to come. I will see you all in the next video.